Her final voicemail was just 37 seconds long, but in those seconds, she described something that shouldn't exist. Listen to the terror in her voice. That raw, primal fear. She whispered of a cold so deep it felt like the air itself was leaching the warmth from her bones. She described the smell first ozone, like after a lightning strike, mixed with the coppery tang of old blood and something sweetly rotten. Then came the sound. Not footsteps, but a slow, wet dragging, like something heavy being pulled across a damp concrete floor. Her breath hitched. The air grew thick, pressing in on her. She was certain it was listening, learning the rhythm of her panic. "It's so dark," she gasped. "I can hear it breathing in the hallway." Then, the line went dead. This is the story of Emily Vance, and the thing that waited for her in the dark. I shouldn't have called the number. What if you could listen to the last words of the vanished? Not the official police recording, the real one, the one left in the static between worlds. We found a way, and we played every single one. The attic air was thick with the smell of dust and old paper, a forgotten archive of someone else's life. A strange, metallic scent of ozone began to seep from the old television set in the corner. Then, from its speakers, came not silence, but a low, wet scratching, as if something were trying to claw its way out. Fairy lights glowed softly against vintage audio gear, casting long shadows across shelves crammed with dusty cassettes. The air felt thick with the scent of aged paper and warm electronics, a deceptive comfort. This attic in Portland belonged to my friend Leo. It was just Leo, Sarah, and me when everything began. Our little podcast, Static Echoes, chased whispers from the town's dark corners. Leo, our tech wizard, believed the universe hummed with hidden signals waiting to be decoded. Sarah, ever the skeptic, was our anchor, grounding every wild theory with cold, hard facts. And me? I was just the voice in the dark, telling the stories. Leo, a man in his late 20s with a conspiratorial grin, held his prize. A hulking, telematic TR-900 reel-to-reel recorder. Marketed in the 1970s as a device for spiritual communication, it was dismissed by most as a sophisticated hoax. But Leo was captivated. He believed its unique, esoteric frequency band could tune into signals ordinary equipment missed, a conviction that would soon pull back a veil, revealing a static-filled void where something was waiting to be heard. He theorized about residual echoes, emotional imprints he called the silencer. Sarah humored him, her fingers tapping across the laptop keyboard with amused skepticism. For their next episode, she compiled a list. 23 individuals who'd vanished without a trace from the Pacific Northwest over 50 years. The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of old paper and something faintly metallic, like distant rust. The only connection? Each was last heard leaving a voicemail. A final, ordinary check-in that became a phantom. The theory is, the moment of pure terror, it's like a psychic spike. His words hang in the air, thick and cloying like ozone before a storm. That spike, not a sound, but a sensation. A cold, damp pressure against the skin, as if the very air remembered the scream. We thought the old machine might tune into the echo of that spike, on the frequency they meant to use. Sarah's dry voice on the tape countered. Or maybe we'll just get 50 years of dial tone and waste a perfectly good Saturday. The escalation began at midnight, in the attic's oppressive darkness, broken only by that sickly green luminescence. Leo, Sarah, and I sat around it, the air thick with ozone and a creeping metallic dread. Leo connected the silencer to his modern deck, cross-referencing phone numbers with his pseudoscientific frequency charts. It felt like a ridiculous exercise, just spooky fun. At first, we got nothing but static and the faint scent of ozone from the equipment. The air grew heavy with anticipation, our initial amusement fading into a quiet, creeping unease. Dead air hung thick in the room until 1:17 a.m. Then, a clean digital beep cut the silence. A voicemail notification. A man's calm voice, mid-40s, filled the void. "Hey Jules, just leaving the office." Storm's a beast. He decided to grab a coffee and wait it out, ending the call with a quick, "Love you." The car door thudded shut, followed by the mechanical click of the seatbelt. A sharp, involuntary gasp tore from his lungs. "What the?" he whispered, his voice thin. "The road, it's not there. The trees are hidden." "Jules? Jules, something's wrong." The radio crackled with static, then a faint, melodic hum, not from the device, filled the air before the call cut out. On screen, Sarah's smirk vanished, replaced by wide-eyed alarm, while Leo looked unnervingly triumphant. The air grew heavy with ozone and dread as the host, voice low, uttered the name. It was James Pettigrew. The official case file for the Highway 26 disappearance in 1988 showed Sarah's notes. They confirmed the victim's last known call. His family later released the final voicemail they had received. It ended, simply, with the words, "Love you." But the audio we recovered was different. The recording continued past that point. The rest of the message was new. A damp, metallic scent seemed to cling to the sound, and the final words were swallowed by a low, wet scratching. The silencer's reels began to turn of their own accord, their mechanical click and whir slicing through the attic's sudden chill. The temperature plummeted, the air turning damp and thick with the scent of old paper and a sharp, metallic tang. It clicked, whirred, and played another message, and then another.
Each new playback was a violation of the silence it was meant to keep, a relentless mechanical whisper in the frozen dark. In '92, a hiker whispered about a man made of shifting bark before a sound like tearing canvas silenced him.
Then in 78, a teenager giggled about a cool, shiny door in a storm drain before metallic scraping drowned out her scream. When we played the audio collage, Sarah's skepticism shattered. Her face went ashen. Leo was ecstatic. But beneath that excitement, a primal dread had taken hold in his eyes. We had crossed a line from investigators to eavesdroppers, tuned to a private frequency of pure dread. The machine's casing grew unnaturally warm under our hands. An acrid scent of ozone, sharp and electric, cut through the air. It mingled with the musty odor of decaying paper, saturating the space with an oppressive, alien presence. On the tape, Sarah's voice quivered with a raw, rising panic. "Leo, turn it off. This isn't data. This is violation." Leo's reply was a low, obsessive murmur, completely detached from her terror. "We have to hear the last one." Amelia Ross, 2004. The signal pulses strongest on her receiver, a magnetic pull impossible to ignore. It's drawing something in, or perhaps drawing her out. A sharp scent of ozone and hot metal cuts through the damp basement air. The machine's hum drops to a predatory thrum, a vibration felt in the teeth. The audio log begins with a faint, discordant feedback whine that builds unnervingly. This is the last known trace of Amelia Ross, aged 22, who vanished from her apartment without a trace. Her final message to her boyfriend was a voicemail, just 3 seconds long. It contained only muffled, choked sobs, then a deadline. The police had nothing. The silencer was screaming her name in frequencies we couldn't hear. Leo, on tape, his voice barely more than a breath. Here it comes, a long stretch of hollow, empty noise, like air being pulled from a tomb. Then, not a voicemail beep, but the clumsy, fumbling sound of a phone being picked up. Amelia's voice, young and raw with terror, whispers directly into the receiver. "Is someone there? Please. I can see the streetlights from here, but the door, it just leads back into the hallway. Every time, there's a smell. It's the scent of ozone and rot, thick enough to taste. The air grows heavy, clinging to my skin with a damp, static charge. The scent of wet earth mingled with my own perfume, sharp and incongruent. Above me, the attic's fairy lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Only the machine's eerie luminescence remained, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to congeal in the corners. My voice fractured as I whispered the terrible truth. It mimics them. The voices from the phone. A distorted version of my mother's voice called me for dinner, the pitch unnervingly wrong. Then came soft, shuffling footsteps far too close to my microphone, the sound damp and sticky like wet cloth on concrete. It's learning. It wants me to keep talking so it can perfect the imitation. Then a new voice cut through the heavy air. The voice that answered was a near-perfect mimic of Amelia's own, yet devoid of all emotion, like a recording played back slightly too slow. The mimic. So it can get it right. "Amelia. Oh God, it's here, in the room with me. If you can hear this, don't listen to the voices in the dark. Don't acknowledge them. It finds you through the..." A sudden, violent bang thundered against the attic door downstairs. Not the house's main entrance, the attic door. All three jump as Sarah's recorded shriek cuts through the tension. "What was that?" Then the mimic's voice returns, but now it emanates from both the silencer speakers and the attic door simultaneously. A horrifying stereo of corruption. Leo, in a frantic panic, yanks the power cord from the wall. The silencer's lights die instantly, yet the audio continues to play from its now dead speakers. Amelia's final, resigned whisper cuts through. Quote, "It's on the line." The recording erupts with the sound of a violent struggle, a sharp gasp, then the crisp, definitive click of a phone being hung up. Then, the attic fell into a profound, unnatural silence. The frantic pounding at the door had ceased completely. A heavy stillness settled in the air, thick with the lingering scent of damp wood and something metallic. We left Leo's house that night, the oppressive quiet clinging to us like a second skin. We didn't speak. The machine remained unplugged and dormant, its presence an accusation in the room. Sarah erased every file from her computer, the soft clicks of deletion echoing in the oppressive quiet. I kept the raw tape, its weight cold and heavy in my pocket. That voice you heard at the beginning? Leo hasn't answered his phone in 4 days. Sarah says her landline sometimes rings in the dead of night. When she answers, there's only a faint, wet sound of breathing, and a faint metallic scent of ozone on the line. When she picks up, there's only empty noise, then the faint, rasping sound of something learning to breathe correctly. The air in the attic grew thick with the scent of ozone and old dust. A primal dread took hold as we realized what we'd done. We opened a channel. We listened to the final whispers of the lost, and in doing so, we repeated their fatal mistake. We acknowledged the static. We gave it a voice to mimic. So if you're watching this, check your messages. That hang-up, that pocket dial, that dead air from an unknown number. Listen closely, because beneath my final words, a new layer of sound emerges. Soft, shuffling footsteps, and distorted, melodic humming. The air grows heavy with the scent of ozone and the faint, metallic tang of iron. Something is listening back, learning to sound just like you. The crisp, digital tone of a voicemail system cut through the air, followed by a sharp beep. Then, the screen plunged into absolute blackness, swallowing every last pixel of light. In the void, a faint, metallic scent of ozone began to seep into the room. A heavy, unnatural silence settled in, thick enough to feel against the skin.
If the veil stirred, subscribe and meet the next encounter.